Welcome back to another What Sold in 90 Days, aka 100% sell-through rate according to eBay. We'll be sharing both Poshmark and eBay on this video though. As a reminder, the math is not going to math if you just look at the little numbers I'm giving you, because there are other variables and factors that affect the price, the profit. I like to also be transparent, so the profit you see is going to be before the feds get their cut. Basically how this is going to work is I'm going to show you what sold for how much, just the price it's sold for, and then I'm going to show you what fees I had to pay other than shipping, that's separate. And then I'll tell you what the profit is before taxes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. If you remember a few videos back, I told you guys that I am pretty sure I'm missing items that I could tell you about, and I am. One of those being my consignment client. At this time I only have one client, potentially a second one, but I do sell things for her and she has some awesome things. So let's talk about some of them. And these items sold more on Poshmark than eBay, so we'll jump into those. And this is a great time to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Prime Lister. As a busy mom who homeschools and works from home and does all the other things we know moms do a lot, I found it very difficult for me to stay on top of all the needs for Poshmark. I did use another service previously, but I did feel like it was lacking quite a bit when it comes to the Poshmark automation. It was a system where when I would leave the house or even get too busy to check on it to make sure it was doing its job, it would stop working. I don't know if it's a connection thing on my end or if it's the system itself, I'm not sure, but it was stressful because I felt like I had to babysit a computer. I had to keep the computer open and running, and it was stressful when I would leave because I had no way to access or tell if anything was going on, if it was sharing my closet or doing any of the offers I should be sending, anything like that. And a few weeks ago I was approached by Prime Lister and they said, hey, we would like for you to check out our 2-week trial that's free, that is accessible to everyone, by the way, you can get that too. And a really cool part of trying this 2-week free trial is that you do not have to put in any payment information, so you can just try it out before you buy it. And when I tell you it relieves so much stress around automation and Poshmark, seriously, it helps so much. So the cool thing about it is it's actually cloud-based. So I have the ability to walk away from the computer. I don't have to worry about it staying open or double checking it or anything, and it still runs and does everything. So I have it currently doing a lot of jobs, and I'm actually gonna show you on my phone the jobs that it does. And that's another awesome feature about it. It does have an app, so when I'm out and about and I'm worried that it's not doing its job, I can always double check it and I can see that it's still running for me. So as you can see here, we have the ability to do all the Poshmark automation we need, which is sharing our closet, community shares, relisting, offers to likers, party sharing, return share, return follow, follow new closets. You can do all of that. And if you click inside of that setting button, you can see here that I have the ability from my phone to change things when I want to. Not only that, but I did see growth in my store. Poshmark is not my main platform, and part of that reason is because it's so stressful to stay on top of all the social aspects to Poshmark. But Prime Lister is taking care of that for me, and now my closet is actually producing more income for me because I'm using their software to take care of all the stressful parts that I don't want to deal with. So you can try out Prime Lister's Poshmark automation tool as well and get 30% off your first month. I'll link it down below. It is an affiliate link, so feel free to use that to get 30% off of the first month. So now that you know how Prime Lister is helping my ability to grow on Poshmark and grow my income, let's go ahead and talk about my consignment clients' items. Okay, first and foremost, you guys already probably know, like, Taylor Swift stuff sells, Swifty stuff sells, okay? And this was a Taylor Swift item. It was the Speak Now cardigan sweater. It's this beautiful, deep, rich purple with these, it's like these like little diamond embroidered designs. You can see it on the photo there. It's a very desired sweater, and also it was size XL/2XL. This thing was in great condition, so it's not surprising that it sold quite fast on Poshmark. It looks like for my consignment stuff, I actually don't report how long it takes to sell, so my bad. These first few are not going to say that, but I can guarantee you these sold within the 90-day time frame. The Taylor Swift jacket or sweater definitely sold within the first week of being listed. And it sold for $99 on Poshmark. So with that being said, it was free to me. It was something that was belonging to my client. The fees for this were $19.80. This left us with $79.20 after all was said and done. As far as how that breaks down between me and my client, I don't share that publicly. That's between us and our contract. So what I can tell you is the profit was $79.20, and then I give her portion and I give me my portion. Everything's done. Okay, next is another item of hers that sold on Poshmark, and it was the Nike Daybreak Premium Vachetta. I think that's how you say that, I'm not sure. sneakers for women. And these seem to be a pretty desired shoe. They definitely sold. I don't even think it took a month for them. Now I'm noticing I'm gonna have to start including how long it took to sell on the spreadsheet I have for her. But yeah, it sold within, I think it was within 2 weeks. Definitely less than a month though. It sold for $40 on Poshmark and the fees were $8. So it was a profit of $32 since of course I didn't pay anything. This was through a consignment, and then I pay her and myself according to our contract. And a third item of hers that I'm going to share with you guys is actually a Coach Apple Watch strap. It was still new in box. She hadn't even used it. Yeah, it sold on eBay closer to 90 days, I believe, for $47.49. The seller fees were $5.69. The promo fees were $3 and the profit was $42.89 on that item. Really quick before we move on, I want to say that if you are struggling to find a way to get enough income to get items in, I do recommend trying out consignment. It's a really great way to bring in stuff for $0 and to make a cut. That way you can take that money and put it in your business and go sourcing. However, I will say that consignment is it's a little more risky in the sense that there's a lot more pressure put on you to perform for a client. So I wouldn't say day one do it. Definitely learn how selling things works, and then approach people for consignment or have them approach you, however that works. But you definitely want to make sure what you're doing is solid before you go out. So you need to have your breakdown of how you're going to pay them versus pay you, and an explanation of all the fees, having a contract written, all those kind of things. So I will say that, but it is a really great way to produce income without actually sourcing anything and spending $0. Okay, now back to my own personal items. I always forget where I leave off, and I'm pretty sure that this is the right place, so please forgive me if I have any repeats of anything that has been in a video before. But the first thing we're going to talk about is a J. Jill shift dress. Now I am going to tell you as well, I am not great at like organizing eBay first and then Poshmark second. So they're going to be in and out of what they sold on, because I just have a spreadsheet that goes in order of like date it sold, if that makes sense. So that's how we're going to do things. Okay, so yes, first is this J. Jill shift dress, extra large tall. Tall is great. Floral stretch, sleeveless, knit, breathable, casual, business casual, all those kind of keywords. This sold on eBay in 13 days for $24. Now honestly, J. Jill is not turning around that fast for me these days, for the most part, as fast, but I think it truly was because this is a size XLT that sold it. Tall sizes just, they sell. Okay, camera died, or it got hot. All right, let's get back to where we were. So they paid $24 in 13 days. Cost of goods for me was $6.99. The seller fee was $4.48. This brought my profit to $15.91. So now that summer is coming, warm seasons are coming, this is a brand I'm really excited about, and it's Vineyard Vines. I mentioned it in the last video too. Vineyard Vines dresses can perform quite well. This is exactly a case of that. This is a Vineyard Vines tank dress, and it had these beautiful like tassels hanging from the bottom of it of vibrant bright neon pink, and it sold on Poshmark in 35 days for $44. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why this sold. It is a gorgeous piece, and I actually almost kept it but I'm glad I sold it because now, you know, I have money instead of a dress, so that works. I paid $4.99 for it. The seller fees were $8. My profit was $31.01. But yes, if you don't know, you should always be looking up Vineyard Vines dresses, or if it looks like anything that's not the regular t-shirts and pullovers that you find, always look them up, because there's a good chance that it might be worth your time. Do you remember when I told you also a few weeks ago that I had a whole bunch of shoes that I had a death pile of, and I'm just putting them up and trying to sell them as fast as possible? This is one of those shoes, and it's the Bobs from Skechers Breeze slip-on shoes. Nothing special at all, nothing spectacular. I priced them pretty low. Off the top of my head, I don't have it here, but I think it was between $20 to $22 I priced it for. I could be wrong. You'll see it on your screen. It sold in 8 days for $14.40. I'm not entirely sure what I paid for them since I had them for over a year, so I just put like the average price of a shoe at our local thrift stores, which is $5.29. So there's a good chance I paid less. We'll go with that. And the seller fees were $3.54, so I made a profit of $8.40 on these shoes. I've seen a lot of those shoes disappear, and I'm really glad I just listed them and just am taking whatever offers come in or anything like that. So I'm glad I'm getting rid of a lot of those shoes down there. Okay, so Task it's a decent brand. I feel like, at least for me, all the pieces I find don't go for a lot of money, but it has a quick turnaround, and that's why I pick it up when I find it. And this was a Task Performance Mozatec. I don't even know if that's correct. Men's pullover hooded shirt. and it was a size extra large. Thumb holes I feel like is a feature that a lot of people enjoy, especially women. I'm not sure if men enjoy it as much, but it's just a brand that seems to be picked up quickly, and it sold on eBay in 19 days for $20. I paid $4.99 for them. Seller fees were $4.01. I did have a promotional fee of $1.46, so my profit was $10.92. Keep in mind when I share these videos with you, 90-day turnaround, 100% sell-through rate, fast selling, all of those great sounding words, they do not mean a lot of money every time. Most resellers are finding a lot of bread and butter. That's why we call it the bread and butter, okay? It's just lower income producing items that tend to sell for us. We know they're predictable and we know that they'll sell in a decent amount of time, but not always for a lot of money. And that's okay. If your model is to sell nothing but very expensive turnarounds, like, okay, do that, that's your thing. But where I live and what's available to me, a lot of times is bread and butter items. So keep that in mind as we do these videos. But obviously there are some great ones in between too. Next, we're moving on to a Talbot's blouse. And it's a size X, which if you go to their website, interestingly enough, they don't have measurements that like tell you what X fits. Like when you go to their size chart, unless it's changed since then. That's a very interesting thing. Why would you develop a strange size, but then not include like the measurements on your size chart? Weird. Okay, but anyways, regardless of that, this is a Talbot's blouse. And this is one where I've told you guys before, like these really thin knit cotton blouses, they just turn around, once again, for not a ton of money, but they do turn around and produce something for you. So I tend to pick them up in the bigger sizes, especially if it's a really beautiful print. And this one is a case of that. It sold on eBay in 28 days for $24.30. And as you can see, it was this gorgeous bright pink paisley type pattern, thin knit cotton. Those are the reasons that it sells, on top of it being a good size. Even though X does not have an explanation, it's still a decent size according to measurement. I paid $3.50 for this shirt. The seller fees were $4.73. Promotional fees were $1.75. I came home with a profit on that of $17.11. This next one was a fun style pickup, and it was the vintage J. Peterman Company maxi dress. It was a size 12, which is a decent size. It had this gorgeous velvet burnout at the bottom. I'll include a photo if I remember to. And it was a silk blend, another selling point. But that deep, rich, dark color is such the like vampire whimsigoth theme. That's truly what sold this for today's type trends. So I could be wrong. Like obviously I'm not the shopper. I can't decide what determined it for them, but I feel very confident in saying it was because it was silk, a deep, rich, vampire-y whimsigoth vibe. That's what I would say. Those kind of items are just selling these days. And it sold on eBay for $8. No, it sold on eBay in 8 days for $50. I had paid $6.99 for it. The seller fees were $7.44, so I had a profit afterwards of $36.95. Next, we had an international sale. If it was returned, I would never know. But that is a Catherine's faux wrap dress, and it's this really cool geometric print. It was super stretchy. It had this pleated accent on the waist that was really hard to photograph. You probably won't even notice it in the photo, but it did sell in 2 days for $27 on eBay. That's a really great turnaround. And I paid $5.99 for it. My seller fees were $5.29, and my profit was $21.31. So yeah, when it comes to Catherine's, I only get 2X and below if it's something I feel confident about selling, but 3X and up seems to be the magic size to go with. And yeah, this is just an example of it. It had a lot of really great features to make it sellable so fast. The next one was one I really wanted to keep, and I really struggled not to keep it. You guys know I have a bad habit of saying that because it's true. There's so many things I just want to keep, and this was one of those items, and it's from this really cool brand, Olive. Now, Olive is not an American brand. It is a brand from somewhere in Europe. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Probably just as simple as like the UK. But it is a European brand that focuses on developing pieces that are like one size fits all and quality, like truly quality. And this was a quality item. And it was really cool because you really could see with the way that it was designed, it could fit so many body types and not look weird, in so many sizes too, not look weird. And I really had trouble letting go of this. It had the same feel and texture as like if you think of Frank and Eileen type of feel. It was that really nice, soft, thin cotton that's like high quality. And yeah, I think what sold it was, one, somebody might have been very aware of this brand. It seems to be like a niched down brand. Even the comps, there weren't a ton to go off of, and there was none listed that looked like mine. Mine is still available on the website, by the way. I kind of made up a random number to list it at, and I did 80. And I was like, I'll just take an offer, and that's what we came to with this. It sold on eBay in 7 days for $37 was the offer that I got. I had paid $5.99 for it. My fees were $5.70, so I made a profit of $26.83 on this dress. I think the reason it sold so fast, and it had a lot of interest, by the way. Dark academia is a style that sells. Academia is very in, whether it's just the more preppy, collegiate, European vibe, or if it's more dark academia. Both are kind of the same thing, just basically in different fonts. It's almost like if you have the same photo and you just put a different preset on it. It's the same stuff, they just chose different colors. So yeah, this is more of the grungy dark academia vibe, and that is a very big deal right now. So is Log and Look. There was just so much going for this baby doll style dress. It had a lot of really good selling points. Okay, the next one, I knew I wasn't gonna make a lot because they were super damaged, but I was like, there was so much stuff that day of like outdoorsy clothes. Somebody just basically dropped off their entire closet of outdoorsy clothes, and this was in there, but I know that the brand Cool, even if it's not in great shape, somebody out there will buy it. And in fact, it went to someone in like, I think Arkansas, which if you don't know, there's really great parks like the Ozarks out in Arkansas. You got also, that's like the really well-known one for like primal camp. Is it primal camping? Primal, whatever the word is. There's also like Hot Springs National Park out there. But yeah, it's a very active place. So somebody just probably needed something that would cover them, but they didn't have to worry about damaging it or it being too much money to worry about damaging it anyways. So yeah, it was sold on eBay in 21 days, even with all its flaws, which were literally, if I look here, let's see. There were holes, stains, discolorations throughout it. That is literally what I said. And I'm sure the photos reflected that. I think I had to stop taking photos of flaws because I was running out of photos for everything else. So yeah, even with the flaws and all, some people just need something cheap and easy. And so it sold on eBay in 21 days for $12. My seller fees were $4.99, and no, that was how much I paid for it. That was my cost of goods. The seller fees were actually $3.59. So my profit was $8.30 on that item. Next is another Catherine's item. And this was a 1X, which equals to an 1820W. And once again, this is one of those items where it had enough features for me to pick it up for a smaller size. It had a crossover V-neck style, kind of like a faux rat. Well, not kind of, it's a faux rat. And it had this really cool feather pattern on it, very stretchy. These are all details that sell well for Catherine's, not the feather. That's just a bonus, but stretchy and like V-neck crossover, something that could be both casual and business casual. These are all the kind of things that happen to usually sell for me. I'm only speaking for my own sales. And it sold on eBay in 57 days for $20. I had paid $3 for it. My seller fees were $3.98, and my promotional fees were $1.42, so I made $14.12 on this item. Next is a public rec item, and I was really excited to find this because I've never found it, and it was new with tags, so I will take that. It's a public rec all day everyday pant for men. It was a 34-30. Now I do want to say I learned this from Big Yumbo. Yumbo learned this from somebody else, I can't remember, but it's a 4x4 rule with men's pants. I'm not the most well-versed in pants. It's not my like favorite category, but I do seem to find that this rule is true. And what that is that when you're sourcing items, you need to consider that the measurements of the waist and the inseam are no more than 4 numbers apart. That's because anything that's more than 4 numbers apart, the makeup of their body type really affects your ability to get it sold. So for instance, he had said, like, imagine if it was a size 40 by 30, that's somebody who is larger in the waist and shorter in stature. And those are harder to sell because most body types seem to fall within this 4x4 rule. Obviously there are exceptions. I'm not saying don't look it up if you feel like it's a good pants to look up, but for instance, the brand Cool, you've seen how fast those beat up ones sold for me. Imagine if they weren't beat up, how much they would go for, versus another set of Cool I had where it was basically that, where the person was wider and shorter. I sold it for very little after trying to sell it for so long because it's just not a size that you find every day. And I think I literally put on a 50% off sale to sell it. It sold for like 20 bucks, but it took almost a whole year to get that 20 bucks. So if they're gonna be those cheaper sales, I prefer for them to turn around quick so that they're not taking up real estate in my house, because that does affect your cost in a sense of like square footage and storage. So that's my rant about that. A nice little detail to think about back to what I was saying, these Public Rec all day everyday pants were this solid black, really nice quality item. Is sold on Poshmark in 73 days for $55. I think I had it priced just a little too high. I had a lot of interest on it, but just no bites until somebody sent me an offer of $55. I accepted it. I had paid $8.99 for them. The seller fees were $11, so I made a profit of $35.01 on these pants. But yes, if you don't know, Public Rec is a brand you should keep your eye out for. You can literally feel the quality, like as you're going through the racks. Okay, next was a vintage Ralph Lauren shirt, and it had like the pearl snap closure. The outside didn't have the cool pearl look, but it was a pearl snap closure. And it was paisley with a kind of like rustic colorway to it, and it was embroidered with the logo. And this was just a vintage that already had some proof behind it that it would sell pretty decently. So I just picked it up because comp said to pick it up. So it sold on eBay in 32 days for $23, which is probably in the middle of the range you would get for this. I paid $2.50 for it. The fees were $4.92, so I made a profit of $18.77. Next, we have a Duluth Trading Co. men's Shoreman fleece windproof jacket, and it was in a size 2XL, which is an amazing size, and I think this truly was sold this so fast and for such good money. And it was pretty simple, as you see here. I think the Shoreman ones are pretty traceable in comps, if I remember. I think the style code gave me that title, but there are plenty of them, I think, on eBay, and it's still available on the website, I'm pretty sure too. So I just took information from the website, turned it into the keywords for eBay, and it worked out. It sold on eBay for 36 days for $49.50. I paid $4.25 for it. My fees were $8.19. I made a profit of $41.60 on the jacket. Okay, so I think that's a good stopping point for today, just to keep it from being too long. I don't want to give you guys ridiculously long videos to sit through, but I hope you found some good little things to look out for, or some things that you didn't know before. Entertainment, I don't know. I hope it brought you something. Anyways, there's going to be another video up here. Feel free to go watch it. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to check out Prime Lister, and you can use my link down below. It's an affiliate link once again. So go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you over in the next video.